Time and time again, we prove the PlayStation community, the ponies, the cultists, wrong. You see, they told me that Microsoft no longer promotes the Xbox Series consoles. They said they now promote the television, the Samsung television, and Fire Stick. So then what did Microsoft do here? Wow, look at that. It seems like Microsoft is promoting their console. It seems like Microsoft is basically just diversifying how you could play their content, whether it be on televisions, whether it be Fire Stick, but nothing will compare to the true native console. None of those services, either the Fire Stick or the Samsung television, those streaming device, could compare to a native console. But what do I know? What do anyone of the Xbox community know at this point? Only the PlayStation community know. At the same time, PlayStation gamers are reminiscing that Sony had fire content when they released their PlayStation 5.
They low-key been killing it. They had Stray at launch. You know what I'm saying? That was a game I was up there for Game of the Year.
Don't follow me at all. Don't follow Satan, follow God. Come, there you go. Well, given everything that has been going on today, we are not going to talk about all of that. Today, what we are going to talk about is, was Jim Ryan, was Bungie really double agents? Because the damage they did to Sony's reputation, to Sony's money, is unheard of. We're really going to ask that question, and we are going to see how PlayStation fans are reacting to the news that Bungie might just be dissolved altogether. So you know what? Let's get it.
This is a sickness!
Let's get it. So before we start the video, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel to 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I believe we can do it. So just hit that subscribe button if this type of content interests you. Now let's get back to the video. So if you are not living under a rock, you may have heard that Sony has taken full control of Bungie. But then you might say, but wait, didn't Sony already buy Bungie? Aha! Well, I will say that yes, they did buy Bungie, but that was to no benefit to Sony whatsoever. Because do you remember what was the deal that Bungie and Sony made? Let me just refresh your memory. Bungie is now officially part of Sony. So in the month of July, Sony acquired Bungie for the low price of $4 billion. Yes, Sony paid Bungie $4 billion. Now, what was Sony getting for that?
You get nothing!
Though it's now under Sony's umbrella, Bungie will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games. Bungie CEO Pete Parsons said in a blog post from the original announcements of the acquisition. And future games in development won't be PlayStation exclusive. Bungie's Joe Blackburn and Justin Turman said. But Sony does plan to lean on Bungie's for its world-class expertise in multi-platform development and live game service, which will help us deliver on our vision of expanding PlayStation to hundreds of millions of gamers. Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Jim Ryan said in January. Sony views live service games as a critical part of PlayStation future, as it plans to launch more than 10 new live service games by March 2026. So this was the deal. Sony spent close to $4 billion to get basically advice on how they can make live service games work, to make that push for that live service future. Now, one would reason that there is no businessman on earth would spend that type of money and not be able to say or dictate what direction that company that he purchased could go. No businessman would say that. That is why I believe that Jim Ryan and Bungie was
Mr. F.
Because think about it, guys. Who businessman in their right mind would spend close to $4 billion and not have any say in the company? Who businessman you know would spend that amount of money and not get something beneficial for his platform, for his community? That makes absolutely no sense. But Jim Ryan made this deal with Bungie and they were happy to do it. And while I remember very distinctly that when they made this deal, a lot of the PlayStation community, they were basically hyping it up. They were happy that this was coming to the PlayStation community. For example, look at Jimmy Neutron himself, who had full confidence in Bungie and its ability to produce and to critique any kind of live services game, so much so that he went on record to give Microsoft some advice for their gaming division.
More than ever, it is clear that Microsoft needs oversight engagement. I would say they need better oversight engagement, but it seems non-existent. In the wake of The Last of Us Faction 2 news, I can't help but think that Microsoft needs a Bungie.
What? How stupid would I be to do that?
I didn't say you
That's
were holding.
stupid, guys.
I didn't.
Is this camera on me?
Yes, it's on.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
A studio that understands game development, that can be the muscle to walk in the room and do rigorous oversight from very early on to gauge if a project's good, if it's coming along. Do you have buy-in with your developers? Do you have good vision? Is the leadership properly communicating vision to your developers? Do you know how in those crime dramas where they separate people and they ask them questions to get the story straight? Why not do that? All right, leadership, what's the vision for this game? Great, thank you. Then go to the developers. What's the vision for this game? Real easy to see if there's clear vision transfer, because that's one of the primary means of excellent project management, because it sets the trajectory for what you're making. What's the goal of this game? What do you need to achieve the goal? Oh, you're building a multiplayer game and you don't have confidence you can build it? Oh, and you don't have enough staff to do it? If you don't have oversight engagement, you'll never find these things out until it's too late.
Another pony absolutely wrong about the abilities of Bungie. But it was not only him. Look at this one.
Xbox fans who are already upset, and are going around being like, organic growth, this isn't organic, everybody lied, Sony lied, and whatever. You know, it's like, I don't get what people expect, man. Like, you think Microsoft's just allowed to come out here and be like, we're gonna acquire Bethesda, we're gonna acquire Activision, and you expect Sony to just sit there and be like, nope, we're not doing nothing of our own?
Yes, this was MBG. When he first heard that Sony acquired Bungie, he was happy, he was elated. He was saying this is the answer back that Sony had for Microsoft acquiring ABK. He would soon make a tweet saying this. This is going to prove to be a very smart acquisition when those 12 live service PlayStation games start releasing.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
During the course of the days, there were articles saying how PlayStation fans were so happy, they were rejoicing because of Bungie. They had tweets upon tweets talking about, you know, this is a really, really good move. Congratulations, Sony, you did an excellent job. Now, these ponies were so desperate for a win after the ABK deal that they didn't see that this deal was crazy. This deal was nuts. Sony was essentially paying $4 billion for absolutely nothing. For absolutely nothing tangible, nothing that Bungie was bringing to the table that even, I just can't understand it. But this is what Jim Ryan decided to do. Now, we don't know what Jim Ryan saw in Bungie. We don't know if what he saw was only
for British eyes only.
For British eyes only.
Gonna look.
Now, if you're from Britain, maybe you can let me know if you are seeing the same thing Jim Ryan saw, you know, for paying close to $4 billion for Bungie. It's amazing that none of the Sony executives or none of the so-called Sony fans saw that this was a bad deal from the jump. We even had persons in the comments, in the Twitter comments of that deal saying this. Average Joe tweeted, "I still don't understand why Bungie would help other service games to flourish while potentially losing fans of Destiny to other service games." Wow, this guy is just an average Joe and he saw something that Jim Ryan or none of the executives or none of the diehard ponies saw. He saw it. How they didn't see it? Listen to what Michael Pachter saw long before all of this debacle happened.
The Activision deal and the Zynga deal were both done below those stocks' recent highs. So Activision had traded over 100 and the deal was at 95. Back in October, it was at over 100. Zynga had traded over 11, I believe, and the deal was done at 986. So, you know, they didn't really overpay either of the acquirers. Bungie went for $4 million per developer. And most deals are between 250,000 and $1 million. I've seen deals as close, you know, as high as 2 million per developer. This is crazy talk. And just to compare and contrast, EA bought Respawn about 3 or 4 years ago for $700 million with 400 developers, and those guys generate $700 million a year in revenue. Bungie does about $200 million in revenue. So I think Sony vastly overpaid. I think this was a statement that we're not going to let Microsoft get ahead of us, so we'll just buy something out of desperation. It's not really a deal that makes a whole lot of sense to me. The others do.
So what Michael Pachter is basically saying is that Sony is stupid. Sony is stupid because every other company underpaid for whatever studio they were acquiring. They did not overpay for any said studio. Take for example EA, who bought Respawn. They paid over $455 million for Respawn, but look at their returns. EA generated $3.4 billion from that acquisition they got from Respawn. So you're seeing this is a good business move. What did Sony get out of return from Bungie? Only debt and retrenchment. And a matter of fact, we have articles showing that in addition to the $3.7 billion they would have paid to acquire Bungie, they spent over $1 billion so that to prevent workers from leaving. What is Sony doing? Is Sony crazy? And a matter of fact, I could imagine Bungie executives telling Sony this.
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
Now this is crazy. They have to be double agents. There is no way I could believe a man as intelligent as Jim Ryan, that line flying Ryan, could have made a deal like this. But now we are seeing the PlayStation community is backtracking. Now it is defend Sony at all costs. Defend Sony.
I saw some people being very disingenuous about this. That after the merger, you know, Pete Parsons assured people that, hey, we're not going to lay anybody off because of the merger. And that is still true. Nobody is being laid off because of the merger. The merger quite literally saved Bungie from being in financial jeopardy. They started operating in the red, and now they're having to lay people off.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
These layoffs have absolutely nothing to do with the merger. And it's absolutely disrespectful to the people who have been laid off to blame this on Sony, because they're out here. Former employees are out here in the public telling you what the problem is. They're telling you it's the leadership. They're telling you it's Pete Parsons. And you want to do your console warring childish nonsense? You're being disrespectful to the people that just got laid off because of bad leadership and bad decision making by Bungie.
Jimmy, your pony dust is showing up. Jimmy, your pony-isms is showing up. I disagree with you here, because it's very clear that although Pete Parsons has a lot to play when it comes to the state Bungie's in, I would say ultimately it is Sony's fault, because they are the ones who acquired Bungie. They are the ones who made this stupid deal to the point where they could not go into Bungie and listen to the grievances of the employees, listen to the grievances of the devs. This was a stupid play by Sony not to have any involvement in Bungie, because they would have heard rumors. Sony would have heard rumors about Pete Parsons. Sony would have heard rumors about the mismanagement there in Bungie, but yet still they paid close to $5 billion to Bungie, and now the workers are suffering. So don't say anything about don't blame Sony, blame Pete Parsons alone. No, Sony acquired Bungie in the state that they were in and did absolutely nothing to protect the devs while they were there. So stop being a pony.
Thing to do with the merger and the acquisition, when employees are literally like, if it wasn't for the merger, the company would have been in jeopardy, and you're still gonna run with your nonsense soapboxing, console warring. You're not just ignorant, you're an unkind person. You're not listening to the people that actually have been laid off. You're not listening to the people that have gone through all of this. You just want to win console war points on Twitter. You're embarrassing.
No, Jimmy, you are embarrassing, because you was the one not too long ago was saying that Bungie had a very good oversight and now they are in financial problems. So now ponies are seeing the gravitas of this whole situation, and they are coming to the realization that either way, Bungie and Sony, they are screwed when it comes to this deal. Because listen, as Ryan McCaffrey basically sum up what is taking place with Bungie and Sony, and how Sony is back to just running Sony.
Sony should have never bought this team, and you have lost a bunch of the talent who is gone. Now you have Sony people, because the word on the street is that, and I think what's the Giant Bomb journalist name? Why can't I think of his name?
Jeff Grubb.
Jeff Grubb. He had said something like, basically, Herman Hulst is like in charge of the team now. Now, I wouldn't be surprised about that, but this is what we talked about in the beginning. What will be the purpose of an acquisition of Sony under this umbrella without Bungie's talent? Then you just have Sony running the company that they had originally purchased for their expertise. This has been a really bad deal. And people are like, yeah, give it time and they'll make that money back over the billions of dollars that they're kind of in with Sony. And it's like, yeah, that could happen, but it's, again, not that simple.
So do you guys understand what is going on there? Sony has no longer purchased Bungie, but Sony has basically purchased Sony. And to believe Jim Ryan had the gall to say this at one point in time. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan says Bungie offers way more value than Activision does for Xbox. So if this isn't a double agent, guys, I don't know what is. Let me hear what you thought about the video. Let me know in the comment sections below. Do you believe that Jim Ryan and Bungie really came in here to leave Sony in such a disarray when it comes to live services, games, and their dealings with Bungie? Let me know in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.